Nuertup Lang Katungna, the story of Kwach as the hope of his family. In the heart of Nuerland, education was not just a privilege, it was a vital necessity. Every family believed that the path to a better life, one that would take them out of hardship of rural life, lay in education. The idea was simple. Without education, there was no hope of moving to the city, to find work and to build a future. For most Nuer families, a child who sent to school was a symbol of hope, a beacon that shone with the promise of a better tomorrow. One such man was Kwach. His family, like many others, believed that he would be the one to break the cycle of hardship. They sold 3 of their prized cattle. To raise money for his education and transport to Addis Ababa, where he would attend university. It was a huge sacrifice for the family, but they had no choice. Their only hope was that Kwach would return to them with an education that would change their life forever. When Kwach arrived in Addis Ababa, he was greeted by the cold, the bustling city, and sense of excitement. It was everything he had dreamed of, an opportunity to improve himself. But soon the reality of university life hit him hard. The pressure to succeed, the loneliness of being away from his family, and the overwhelming environment of a large city began to weigh heavily on him. As the day passed, Kwach began to feel the strain of university life. His studies were demanding, and he found it difficult to keep up. Then one day, a group of older students introduced him to a substance called chat. Chat, a drug that supposedly helped students stay awake and focused. They told him that without it, it would be impossible, which is a very wrong thing not to be advised. It would be impossible to succeed without it. In the fast-paced world of university life, desperate to succeed and not wanting to disappoint his family, Kwach reluctantly began using it. But the drug weren't enough to satisfy the pressure of university life. Soon alcohol came into the picture. What started as a way of numb the stress of his studies slowly turned into an addiction. Within just 2 years, the young man who had once had been so full of hope and promise had become a shadow of his former self. His academic performance plummeted, and he failed all his subjects. The university, seeing his decline, had no choice but to expel him. Kwach was sent away, and instead of returning to his family in Nuerland, he stayed in Addis Ababa, joining other young men who had, like him, had fallen into the trap of addiction and aimlessness. He didn't want to go back to his family just yet. He knew he would have to explain why he had failed, and he wasn't ready for that. Instead, he stayed, hoping to avoid the inevitable confrontation. Months passed, and the university semester ended. Finally, when the break came, Kwach made his way back to his family. But when he arrived, he was no longer the hopeful, eager young man they had sent away. The change in him was stark. His eye, once filled with dreams, now seemed hollow. His smile, once bright, was now replaced by a scowl. His family didn't recognize him. He was angry, distant, and refused to listen to anyone. "I will not go back to Addis Ababa," he told his family. His voice harsh. "It is too cold, and it is not the place for me. I cannot go back." His family was heartbroken. They had sacrificed so much for him, and now they didn't understand what had happened. The boy had sent away, had returned as a stranger, consumed by anger and frustration. His behavior grew increasingly erratic, and his addiction to drugs and alcohol deepened. Over the years, quiet condition worsened. He became more and more isolated, roaming the streets of Addis Ababa like the other lost young men who had fallen into similar traps. He lost all sense of direction, and his life spiraled out of control. His family, helpless and desperate, tried to intervene. They took him to the hospital hoping for some kind of miracle, but the doctor's words crushed them. "Your son's blood is full of drugs," the doctor said, his voice grave. "There's nothing we can do. His mind is lost to the drugs." Quach's family was devastated. They had sent their son away with hope of a better future, but instead they watched as he slipped further and further away, consumed by addiction and mental illness. The young man who had once been their hope was now broken shell of the person they had known. The end. The story of Quach serves as a tragic reminder of the dangers that can arise when young people are left vulnerable to the pressure of university life and the temptation of drugs. It is a painful lesson for families on one that teaches the importance of support and guidance, as well as the harsh reality of addiction. If you want to help those in need, sometimes it is not just about sending them away with money or education, but being there for them every step of the way, understanding the challenge they face, and offering the love and care they need to stay grounded.